for the Sip and Chat. And today, me and my co host, Miss Nexie, are going to be talking about an amazing topic. But before all of that, how are you guys doing? Happy Thursday. Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, hit the like, subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, Miss Next, welcome.
Hello, Miss Marlene. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, good, good.
Wonderful. I'm happy for you.
So, Miss Nexty, what are you sipping on?
Miss Marlene, you're gonna be very amazed. Very, very amazed. I'm just sipping on water. Plain old simple H2O. That's it.
What
No
is that?
coffee, no nothing. Feel proud of me. Feel proud of me, Miss Marlene. I give you the right.
You crack me up. I'll be amazed. Why would I be amazed by water?
Because I'm always drinking coffee.
Today, what I'm
What?
having,
What? Miss Marlene, do me the honors. Do me the honor of telling me exactly what you're drinking today. See how professional I was there?
that was very, I'm
What are
having,
you sipping on? What are you sipping on, Miss Marlene?
I'm not supposed to have it, but I'm having it. I'm having that foamy Starry, which used to be Sierra Mist, and I don't like this name Starry. I think it's stupid. But
Oh, uh-oh.
yeah.
Okay, and that's what you are sipping on?
I'm just having a little bubbly soda. Soda.
I'm, I'm glad it's just a soda and nothing else. We would have a really fun sipping chat if it had something else in it.
I wish. I probably need some to take the edge off.
One of those days, huh, Miss Marlene? One of those days. So tell me, Miss Marlene, what are we talking about today?
Okay, today, somebody just came in that is looked like an Asian language. Hi, how are you doing? Welcome. Today we're talking about men versus women and handling forgiveness. So,
Ooh.
yes, Miss Nexley, because I believe 100% that women and men handle forgiveness in a different way. And I don't think that it's a bad versus good. It's just different. It's just how I believe that women and men are wired differently and they handle things differently. I'm going to start off by saying I think starting with men and how men handle forgiveness, it's more of, thinking, okay, was I caught in something or what is this is going to cost me to forgive? Like, is this worth my time to forgive? Versus women on the other side is all up about their emotions and how they felt. It's all about
You,
the kids where I think guys was like, okay, what am I gonna get from this? How do I benefit? That's my opinion.
I I kind of agree with you, but you know, I have to, I grew up with three brothers, right? Raised by a father, single dad. Um, and I have have seen a lot of different ways that they have handled forgiveness, on both sides of the family, my side of the family, his side of the family. And as as I've seen it, even male or female, but we're talking about males right now, they are all very different on the way that they forgive, but I feel that it is a man waits more on, the cause of that rift, or the reason why they need to forgive.
Hmm.
We have never really can speak for my sisters on this one as well, and I know they won't mind because, we have extensively talked about this. But when my mother left, I was only 5 years old, so I didn't felt that rift or the drift between us because I was so small. My sisters did, they felt, I guess, and abandoned or whatever. My brothers, in the other hand, they took that deeper than us girls did. We forgave my mother a very long time ago, right? We let it go. We don't hold grudges, a grudge against her. We don't really do well on that. Now, my brothers is different because each and every one of those boys probably has forgiven her a little, but not 100%. And they all still hold the pain of her abandonment, or, because a lot of people say, oh, she left because she wanted to do this. As a child, that's not what you think. What you think is, you left me, you abandoned me, right? So my brothers handled that pain, that resentment, that, I guess, whatever it is they want to call it, that pain, very differently. And each and every one of them, because of the character, their characters, they're very, very different from one another, even though they're siblings, mom and dad, same bloodline. But my three brothers are so very different from one another as compared to us girls who are very similar to each other. So my brothers, even though they have probably been able to forgive a little bit and interact with my mom, they have never really at 100% forgiven her. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, Miss Marlene.
Yeah, you're making yourself very
Okay,
clear.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I feel like that's really interesting. I never would have thought about it that way, to factor in the rank of, when you were born, the age and thing that has a lot to do with
Yes,
how well.
yes, Miss Marlene. And this is the thing, though. So I see my brothers, and I see the way they interact with my mother. And when I went to school, my um, major was psychology with an emphasis on special needs, right? So I'm always studying people, always. I'm not, you know, diagnosing them, right? Sometimes you don't even need psychology to say, my God, that cuckoo flew away from the cuckoo's nest. Go back. But, I'm always studying my siblings, and I see the way they interact with her. It's so different than the way they between them than the way that we girls, interact with her. We can go and have a great time and go home and whatever. My brothers are always on the defense. They're always like, anything she says, they'll pounce on her and bring a lot of things from the past. And or if she ever calls out something on them, they will answer back with, you know, this, and that. I have never confronted her on the why did you leave me, or why, because I've never had a need, Miss Marlene. It's so weird because I've never had that need. I've always try to understand, as a mother, right? As a woman, and the different, eras that we lived, and I always try to understand of her reasonings for doing so. That doesn't mean it didn't hurt me and it didn't traumatize me, because that's a different story. But my brothers, they're very fast to jump onto and throw in whatever she did on her face. And I
Mm.
have, on my husband's side of the family, I have been to, I mean, I have seen, I have witnessed people say, no, I'm not going to forgive you. I don't care if we're brother and you're my brother or you're my sister. Forgiveness is not granted. And years have passed by and they still haven't forgiven that person or, whatever incident. So there's two different dynamics coming from two Hispanic families. So I've seen a variety of those things. And I always try to, go back and say, as you pointed out earlier, I'm glad that you said that because that's what I was trying to say is that the age that if things happen to you is what makes the difference between forgiveness or not forgiveness, right?
Hmm. That's so important. And I never really thought about that because, we both are the youngest, and I really don't think about some things that, the reason why people do the things that they do. Yes, it's about how their age and everything, but it's also about the things that they've seen that will cause them to be that way as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm sorry, Miss Marlene. I was sipping on my water. I'm
I
not
know
used
I
to such a
caught,
delicacy in my mouth.
caught you mid sip.
Okay,
So
go down, go down. Sorry, go ahead, Miss Marlene.
okay, so I wanted to say this, coming from being the youngest child out of having nine other siblings, being number 10, the things that like I literally can't agree with my older siblings. I find it to be the forgiveness between me and the last five children. Like we all get along, and then the first five like get along, and then the rest of us we don't get along. So I don't know, like the things
Oh, okay.
they
Let me
think they're,
understand. I'm
then the
sorry, Ms. Marlene. So
head miss
I'm
next.
sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. So, okay, so the first five get along with them together, the first five, and the last five get along with all of you together, the last five, but not all 10 together getting along. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh my God, that is so weird.
And it's always been that way. It's always been like the older ones are like, we're older than you and we've been through, and we went, and you guys have it easy, and we're like, oh yeah, we have it easy. How was it easy when we were the ones that were younger and taking care of your kids and everything? So how are, so it's always that conflict from the older siblings versus the younger siblings, and
Yes.
doesn't make it right, but I can kind of understand because of their age and what they've had to shoulder and the responsibilities of being older. But also at the same time, you can't be older and disrespect the younger ones and expect to get, you know what I'm saying?
A pass.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, and this is amazing. Again, we're talking about our experiences, right, Miss Marlene? We're not talking about anybody else's, just ours with our family here. But it's funny because all of us get along, right? It's six of us all together. I'm the baby of six, so I'm the sixth one, and I have five older siblings, and the one before me, we're like 8 years apart. So I'm literally like the baby. And so, but we all get along, all of us do. But my sister is the glue to our family. My older sister, the firstborn, she's the glue to our family. If there is a rift between me and, let's say, my brother said something, whatever, my sister intervenes between and makes us talk again. So she's like the mom of the group. She took the role very, very young, when she was very, very young. But there is something about what you just said, because even though we all get along, sometimes my older brother, it was my sister first, then my brother, my eldest brother, then another brother, then another sister, then another brother, and then another sister, which is me, right? But The two first ones, one day my brother said something to my sisters in the how he growing up, before my mom left, growing up he said that he had felt so pressured about, trying to please, I don't know, it was my mom or whoever, and with studies, and that he had it so rough, and my sister, listening to him go on and on and on, my sister said, what are you complaining? Oh, because he said, you had it easy because you weren't pushed into going to school. And my sister looked at him and said, what do you mean I had it easy? I had to wash your uniforms. I had to iron your uniforms. I had to make sure the baby had breakfast before he went to school because, God forbid, if the baby didn't have breakfast when he went to school. She says, don't say I had it easy because both of us went through the same thing just in a different way. And she's like, I'm not throwing this on your face. I'm just letting you know that it wasn't as easy as you thought. And that, Miss Marlene, enlightened me in the fact that we are so quick sometimes to say, my life was hard. Oh my God, I had to deal with this, but we never put ourselves in the shoes of our siblings.
Exactly. And
And
I'm
we
so glad.
jump to conclusions. Yeah, go ahead, Miss Marlene. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, and that's how I feel, Miss Nexie. And I think that why it's always been the rift split right down the middle. It's like they always made it seem like upper class, lower classmen. Like
Mm.
never like like we're older, we're wiser, we've been through more. You have it easy. You don't do nothing. You got a born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Always like you don't have putting hits to your own, blood relative. It's
Hmm.
fair. I'm not saying we had the same experiences, but it's supposed to be. I went through this, and my struggle is valid, and you went through this, and your struggle is valid.
Exactly. We don't have to turn it into a competition.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's something that as we have gotten older, we've had to come to some things like we just have to agree to disagree because I'm not going to bend on how feel it was, and they're not going to bend how they feel it was. But the whole thing that I think that siblings need to learn is that you may not know everything you think you know, even if you were in the same household with that person, but you don't know about the personal struggles, and you don't know about, what is it called, when one parent chooses the other one over the other. I can't think of
Oh
the
yeah,
term.
when they have their favorite, right? Their favorite child.
Yeah. So
Well,
and that is something that, when we're talking about forgiveness and everything, it's very important to put all the cards on the table. You can't just say this person is spoiled and this person is this and this person is that. Everybody has to take ownership of what it is. I was born, I was the firstborn, so of course, in the, Jamaican tradition, they call that the child that breaks the mold. you know you're
mhm.
you had to break in your parents, so of course most of the time the first child always gets it, you know the roughest, you know so
Interfere here, and that's sometimes what we fail to see. That the eldest is the one that gets, do this, do that, help with this, help with that. They're literally like the assistant, a principal of the house.
say assistant parents.
The assistant principal, because there's yeah, like the second in command, right? And they have to deal with the rest of us that are born, and they are so busy because mom sometimes, especially coming from our families, we have so many siblings. Our moms have hardly any time for all of them, but the one that gets forgotten the most and fastest is the eldest.
Yes, I will agree with that. I think sometimes it's like it's not really appreciated. Like I feel
Hmm.
like be appreciated. Like, it's, I feel like the oldest should get a award, but also I coming from being the youngest child, I think the youngest children, we get a bad rep. And I'm not going to say in some families that the youngest child is not spoiled, but when people say the youngest is spoiled and this and that, I didn't have that experience, Miss Nexie.
Oh, I'm gonna put my hat on that one because I did. So
Yeah, you
I'm gonna take my piece of that criticism. Yes, I was.
definitely
I'm,
was.
I'm wearing my little hat. I don't know if you can see it. I'm wearing my hat, my spoil hat. Yeah, it has a little feather. No,
I'm,
not all of us do though, and that's another thing, Miss Marlene. It is a misconception because I have a friend, Miss Marlene, who comes from a family of seven. She been the seventh child, and the parents were so busy putting everybody else, through college and celebrating all those celebrations, those milestones.
yep,
It or anything like that, but she wasn't the center of attention like some of you people have been. Not me, of course. Not me. I was a
yeah.
perfect child. I'm still a perfect human.
I felt Nexie growing up, being the youngest, and people think when you're the youngest, you get everything you want. And I'm not saying that the youngest doesn't get more, but also, like I was telling my oldest sibling when she was like, "Oh, you guys have it good," and I was like, "Yeah, you guys have your struggles, but I do too." And she was like, "What do you mean? What struggles do you have?" I said, "You got the younger mom." You got the mom that would go out and go to parks. She went to theme parks. You guys went on vacation. I got the mother who wants me to go to the drugstore and get her medicine because she has backaches, and I'm going with her to doctor's appointments. So it's like they got the younger version of the fun mom, and I got the one. I got the grandma.
You know what? I've never seen it from that point of view. But again, I wasn't raised, with my mom. But I've never seen it from that point of view, and that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Because
And
at
that's
the age when
called. Sorry,
no, 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 I was just thinking, how old was your mom when you were born?
my mom was 41.
Oh, so when you were 11, she was already through menopause, and oh, I get you. Okay, okay, now I understand.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
So when I was well, by the time I got to be 18, my mom was I think she probably had 2 more years and she retired.
oh, wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I had them, like I'm not saying it to make shots or make fun of my parents, but it is what it is. That's what it was. And when I explained it that way, I could tell that my sister for the first time like got it. Like I have a valid point. Like, yeah, you may have went through some hard times, but you got to go, you know? By the time I came around, my mom was like, "No, let's sit here." Let's sit. You go run and play. I'll sit on the bench. I'm watching you from here.
Yeah, and Miss Marlene, again, we all, I, because they are our parents, right? And in our minds, they have made so many mistakes raising us, right? They were
Mhm.
so selfish. So, oh, they didn't have time for me. Oh my God, they denied me this Barbie doll to Miss Marlene, or they denied me that slingshot that had those really cool. Not the point. So we have all this. of ideas, I should say, because generalizing, of our parents, and our siblings, right? The mistakes that we, because sometimes we got to think too that because we're 15 years probably younger than the first sibling or so, we are a nuisance. We annoy them. We bother them. So
Hmm.
we have to, again, there's the forgiveness factor, right? My oldest sister is 17 years older than me, but my sister always had the motherly instinct, something that, and I know it's gonna sound horrid. What I'm about to say is gonna sound very horrid. It's gonna sound horrible. It's gonna sound mean. My sister had the motherly instinct and love that my mother lacked.
No, that's
So
horrid, Miss Nexie. That's the reality. Some people have that motherly instinct and some never get it.
and so my sister literally mother all of us after my mom had her. Like her and my brother, the second eldest, they're about a year and a couple of months in between them. And then there is like 2 to 3 years for the second, and then another two for for the third, and then another two for the fourth, and like that. So my sister was the one that after my mom will have the babies, will give birth. My sister was the one changing diapers, taking care of the other little ones, doing this, doing that, helping around the house. She was washing clothes for like 5, 6 people by the age of 10. You know what I mean? Washing dishes, fixing food, and my mom always had like a business on the side. So my sister was always more mother to us than our mother was. And maybe that is why, Miss Marlene, I account to the fact that I didn't miss that connection or my mom because my sister was always with me.
Yeah, I get, but people really underestimate all of the roles that happen between brothers and sisters, and sometimes Miss Nixon, I'm just going to say it straight and blunt. Sometimes I think that the some older siblings or younger siblings, because it can go any way, get more responsibility than others based on their personality or based on what happens naturally for them, like having to
Yes.
to cook, clean, and take care of kids because they're naturally inclined to be that way.
Yes. Yes, Miss Marlene. I totally agree with you. I'm just at 100%. And again, because of that, because my sister lived with our parents, right? Because they were married. My sisters, my brothers, they lived more with my mom and dad together than I did. So my sister, being the eldest, she went through a lot more with my mom on diagnosed mental health. My sister will get beat up at at a drop of a hat for nothing, things that she didn't even do. But because her mental illness to this day is still undiagnosed, will kick in, my sister will get the you know brunt of that. She will get the entire, why didn't you put this cup in the right place, and the beatings and stuff. So my sister suffered at the hands of my mother a lot more than the rest of us did, especially me. I was so overprotected because they had already gone through the trauma with my mom. I guess they overprotected me so that they didn't have to go through that. They would always entertain me. That I would be from one set of arms to the next. And since she left when I was 5, I really didn't have a lot of interaction with her. I remember my sisters, my brothers more than I remember my own mom. I remember my dad, but I don't remember my mom as a child. It's so weird. But my sister had a lot more of my mom's um rage. I have to say rage because it was rage. um and I sometimes and which is why I adore my sister. My older sister, She's such an angel to me and to everybody. But it's why sometimes I feel so bad for her because sometimes we right? Not me, but some my others brothers sometimes they have little things to say to my sister, and she's like, "What are you guys complaining about? Remember, I was there. Remember, we didn't have this, or remember, we went through this together." So my sister kind of has to be the one that when they throw the rocks at, my mom was this, my dad was that, you didn't have it as bad. My sister has to be the one reminding everybody we were all in the same shoes. We took
Hmm.
turns with it, but we were all in the same shoes. It
We
wasn't
all,
just
and it took us a long time as siblings to finally come to that space to where we can walk hand in hand and say, "You got messed up. You got messed up. You got." We just go down the.
yeah.
You got messed up. You got messed up.
Exactly. We There is a point, Miss Marlene, when we have to say, and we have to acknowledge that even though my trauma, right, with or my dealings with my mother weren't as volatile as my older siblings, there were still traumas, right? There were still ways that she will make you fear life. There were still that certain things that she did that put the fear in me right away. And I didn't, you know, grow up with her. Like when I came to meet her, it was way when I was a little bit older. So, but she still put the fear of God in me on the certain things that she did or she said or the tone that she used. And my sister, I always got upset because I'm the type of person, especially as I got older and I got healed and I got my voice. I have always been after that the person that says, no, you stop behaving that way. You're not gonna talk to me like that. And I say it in a very nice way. Sometimes I just look at her and she knows not to go there with me, but my sister, every time my mom will attack, even now as an adult, my sister, she just cried. She will never answer back. And I will get so upset at her. Answer, say something to her. But then I had to learn and realize, Marlene, that the person that was crying, this adult, was the little sister, my little sister, that at a certain age, this lady traumatized, right? So she was back to 5 to 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 years old when my mom will go off on her as an adult in her own house, in my sister's house. Okay. So I had to learn to understand that was my sister going back to when she was defenseless. Unless my father was there. If my father was there, my dad will put my mom in her place right away and take my sister away. My dad was always defending us. But I had to learn to understand my sister. Um, this is what I wanted to get at, Miss Marlene. I had to learn to understand how is it that my sister had already forgiven her, like so easily, like right
Mm,
away. And my sister said that for her, she had to let go of everything my mother did to her because she wanted to be a good mom.
mm. Wow,
And
that's
I
deep.
thank you. I needed her to say no more. When my sister said that to me, Miss Marlene, I have never held a grudge against my mom. The thing that I was doing, Miss Marlene, I don't care. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care what you do. I don't get, you know what I mean? Like nothing. I always said, I don't care. But
But
in reality, I did care.
yeah.
But that was a defense mechanism. But when my sister said that, it opened my eyes to say, I need to deal with this that I'm feeling against her so that I can be like my sister says, I can be a good mom to my kids.
See, and that, Miss Nexie, I was like you. I don't know, is that a youngest child syndrome thing? But it's like the same way. That's how I was. Everything that my mom and dad did to me, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. They could do whatever they want. So I'll never come by. I'll never talk to them. I thought by drawing away myself, I was hurting them. In actuality, Miss Betsy, I think about that all the time now that, especially now that I don't have my parents anymore. I think about that I ghosted both of my parents for 3 years because of me and a disagreement I had with my mother. I missed years of their life, and I was like, and I still don't understand. Like, why was I? Didn't I talk to my dad? I was like, I don't know.
Because you
I
needed to heal.
together. I grouped them together.
You need, that's what it
Hmm.
was. You needed space to grow for your personal growth because a lot of times I'm not telling you I am in a argument with my mother. I don't like her, I hate her. No, but I haven't really had her in my life for the past 3 years because, Miss Marlene, I needed to save my mental health. I needed to bring my peace of mind after my dad too died. So I had to make that decision of ever since the 3 years back until now. If I don't feel like answering that phone call, I don't. If I don't feel like reaching out, I don't because I'm protecting my mental health. I'm protecting my heart. I'm protecting my overall. And I only do things now from 3 years on to today, only things that will actually make me feel happy and okay with myself. So that again is a form of forgiveness too, because you forgive yourself for all the things that you have done and you have forgiven those aggressors towards you. And I have
Yes,
forgiven her long time ago. I did. Very, very long time. I was very young when I did. But I wasn't really emphasizing that she was already getting too enmeshed into my life, too much for
yeah,
my own comfort, and bringing trouble into my life by reaching out to my kids. And you know what I mean? Like it was getting out of hand. So I had to put a stop to that. And after my dad too died, I said, this is the right time for me to do so. And I went back to therapy. I did tell you that. I went back to therapy for like 6 months. And this is my new normal. I'm going to call her, visit her when I feel that my mental health is okay, is protected. Other than that, I'm not going to visit. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to do anything.
yeah. And I think for myself at the time, Miss Nexie in chat, my thing was in the beginning, it was I cut my mom off because of what she said. And then as time more and more time passed, I couldn't go back because it was for me, it was the build up of so much things that I had kept sweeping under the rug, the conflict that I was having with my mother, that it was to a point where like I'm just done. Like I the straw that broke the camel's back because everybody's
Hmm.
like that little thing, like you're not talking to mom because of that. Like that doesn't make any sense. You can't tell somebody how they feel, you know?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
I al- I say it all the time. It doesn't matter if somebody is your parent, if it's a little kid, everybody's feelings is valid.
Yeah, and it's different than yours.
And it's different than yours. You don't have to be in agreement with it, but there should be a mutual respect. Okay, you may not like it, but you can't dominate and tell somebody that something it doesn't make sense or that's stupid and things like that. Like coming for people's character. I don't like when people do things like that. If you're upset, don't call people stupid and no, you just say what I don't like that or that doesn't make sense to me. Okay, fine, agree to disagree. But when somebody says you always do make stupid decisions, and that's how it started for me. I was like, you know what? I'm not because you always say things out of your mouth and then later on you wanna the thing was my mother never would apologize and say she was sorry. She would
Yeah, my
always
Miss
just
Marlene.
and let's have them. Hey, you coming over to dinner? No, I'm not coming over there. I was like, you got something to say first? Yeah.
I actually I was my mom was in disagreement with one of my brothers at this point in time. I think I was in my late 30s at this point, and she said something very rude to my brother, and he didn't like that, and they got into a little, um,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
spewing crazy stuff match. Yeah. So my brother left, and my mom is there, and I'm listening to the whole thing, right? I'm just sitting there, not saying anything. When my brother left, I said, "You're wrong." I said, "You're in the wrong here." And she's like, "I can't believe you're saying that, Baba." I said, "No, you're in the wrong here." I said, "You need to apologize to him for what you just said." She goes, "I will never." Oh, she said, "I have never and will never apologize to one of my children. Bible says children have to apologize to their parents, not the other way around." I was like, "What?" I said, "Then I'm in the wrong because if I make a mistake, I'm very quick to realize it and apologize to my children. Even if I haven't made a mistake." I said, "I'm constantly telling my children, I'm sorry if I have made mistakes by being your overprotective or crazy mom. I'm doing it out of love, but I apologize if I have hurt you in any way." I said, "I do that all the time to my children." She goes, "Yeah, that's not me. I will never do that. If he wants to apologize, he can come and apologize himself, but I will never do that." And to this day, Miss Martin, she has never, ever apologized for anything, not even for leaving us.
Mm, that's what I'm talking about, Miss Nexie. And that's why me and her got into it. Me and my mom got into it one day because I always told her, I said, you raise us with an iron fist. It's like
Mm.
cannot beat us up, slap us around, do all kinds of things, tell us off, embarrass us, break down our self esteem, and then expect for us to come running back to you. It don't work that way. I was like, that's toxic, and that's what infuriated her.
Well, f- for me, it's weird because, the again, it's something that I saw growing up, right? And my dad is was totally different than her. My dad was someone that, yeah, from time to time he'll be like, "Oh my God, you guys made a mess," blah, blah, blah. But he was never belligerent or disrespectful to us or, you know, talk to us like we were nothing or call us name. My dad was never like that. He was always very respectful, especially when he was upset. That's when you knew he was mad because he was very quiet and he would tell, "I need to talk to you." And you were like, "Oh my God." But with her, it was different because she didn't just tell you. Let's say my sister, let me give you an example. Let's say my sister did something mean to her or said something disrespectful. If she went to church, she will tell the entire church group.
Uh-oh. What happened?
If I lost you, Miss Marlene.
Okay, I think it's back
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry. It's the internet. So she will communicate to everyone that my sister disrespected her. She will tell our aunties, extended family. So whenever you will come to a reunion, everybody was already looking at you in some kind of way.
Hmm.
And then they will start telling you, "You shouldn't talk to your mom like that." You shouldn't be like that. So she will tell exactly what you did, but not exactly why you did what you did, right? So it was always like that, and things like that make you very insecure because since everybody is attacking you, you don't know who to trust in the family. And my mom is a very masterful person when it comes to manipulating people and things around her. So
Mhm.
my for us it was very difficult. Sometimes it is very difficult to talk to her without you worrying that it's gonna reach everybody around you. So I will do that. Like you should have never tell them what my sister just said to you because now my sister's gonna find out and you betrayed her. She'll be like, I didn't do anything. I was just talking to your auntie. What's the big deal? She's your aunt. And I'm like, oh my God. So it was always like that. So my sister sometimes will get upset because if she said something and they'll come to me, did you say that? I'm like, what? Or somebody else. So it was always like that, Miss Marlene. And she will belittle you in front of everybody. It wasn't a private thing. She will put you down, cut you to pieces, disrespect you with a very foul language in front of people.
Mhm.
And those things are very hard to forget and sometimes to forgive.
Miss Nexie, everything you're saying, I'm over here shaking my head up and down. Yep, yep, yep. That's that's exactly. I'm not gonna say my situation was exactly like yours, but like I said, I came from the iron fist generation where it was like you do what I say when I
Yeah.
say, and I say whatever I want to you. I can embarrass you, but at the end of the day, you still have to love me. You still have to respect me, and you better not have an attitude.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You do as you're told,
Mhm.
right? That's their favorite phrase. Do as you're told. Do as you're told. Don't question. And for people, inquisitive people like us, do as you're told. No, explain to me why I need to do exactly what you say I need to do. I need to understand why. So that was my problem, right? Because I would question things. And she was always so upset. The last one, the one I didn't want, is always questioning everything I do or everything I say. And you know what I mean? Like when people tell you that, and again, it's not that I resent her, right? We're having a conversation of the reason why sometimes we cannot forgive certain people, or we cannot forget, even though we have forgiven them, we cannot forget everything that they did to us. But when somebody tells somebody else in front of you, the one I didn't want to have is the one that is so driving me crazy, always questioning. When you hear things like that, they do something to you, to your soul.
Mm-hmm. It makes you feel less than the dirt, like
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, when I had this one, it ruined my life.
Yeah. And so for me, that, oh my God, I had no trauma. I was fine. It's perfectly fine. I
Hmm.
wasn't really dealing with it. I didn't, like I said, I don't resent her. But I think that what I had to do it was to vocalize it, to say it, to talk to of what happened, to how it felt not to have a mom. Maybe not um in the way that it would have been if she would have stayed. No, in the way that how did that change me and how did it change the life around me? And did I, harbor any resentment towards that? So that's what I had to work on because according to me, I didn't, Miss Marlene. But I had, as I was dealing with this, I had already forgiven her because I was able to love her, in respect, and deal with her in a very rational and very respectful way. So I knew that I had already forgiven her. I just had to voice what happened to me, and what it did to me not having her in my
Exactly, Miss Nexie. It was one of those things like I think what happened with me is I built it up because I was just that type of child where I always respected her, but in the back of my mind, I was like, one day I'm gonna get you, lady. One day I get you. Really am gonna get you one day. Until one day I was like, okay, now I'm grown and you're looking at me and now you need me. And I was like, yeah, now I was like, perfect opportunity. Um,
Oh my God, what a little brat.
yeah, and that's how it went down because don't get me wrong, Miss Nexie, I'm all for, obey your parents, honor your parents, respect them. I'm not saying I didn't, but at the same time, you have to also remember that now your kids are grown.
Yeah, there was a lot of pain there. That's why.
Yeah, there was I had pain there, and then it was like one day it was like, can you do anything right? Can't you ever get here on time? And the whole thing about it is that she didn't know that I was at the store getting her stuff to bring to her. So like, wait a minute. It's like I just worked a full night. And I think that contributed to when we had the blowout because it's like I had a really rough night at work, working in the hospital. And on top of that, I was super tired. And then here she comes with her noise. And it- I think that's why I just hit the roof. I was like, no more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how problems start with within families when you just keep sweeping things under the rug and ignoring the elephant in the room. Like, you need to have a conversation, you need to tell them how you feel, you need to do this. And then when the one person blow when I blew my top literally, um that's when everybody said, see, that's what the youngest child does. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what the youngest child did. But everybody in the family was like, no, 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 no. My siblings who were, like I said, the five of us that were together, they were like, no, 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 no. Mom has had this coming.
Y-
Oh no,
and again,
no.
they're quick. They're very quick to say, "You see, she's so spoiled. Look what she just did to mom." But until we get older and we start living life and get to the age that we can rationalize everything the right way is when we say, "I made a mistake." No, my sister was right at that point. She just had had enough of my mom. I'm going through the same thing now, right? With my kids, or with life or whatever. There's always a time. You don't do it when you're young because you don't have that level of insight or maturity. It always
Yes.
happens as you get older that you start analyzing life. But for me, I had enough already. And I said, because this is the way I looked at it, Miss Marlene, is I had already um for not forgiven, but I had already let a lot of things pass, like offenses or um shortcomings, disrespects, and things like that, right? And it was already bubbling up. It was already getting to the point where just being in the same room wasn't comfortable for me.
Mm,
So I was already distancing myself because I wanted to go back to therapy and everything. And then COVID-19 hit, and I was like, oh, good excuse. We need some time out. But when my dad too got sick, that was probably a couple of years after COVID. I went home and I was there for 7 months, Miss Marlene, being there like literally Monday through Friday, and only having, actually Sunday to Friday, only having like that Saturday, Friday night and Saturday to stay home. And then I will go back. And they live like 2.5 hours from me. So I was with my dad too pretty much all week because, you know, he didn't want me to leave. And I'm already doing leaving kids at home, leaving my little guy. Struggling because I had to make sure that he was, in school on time, and on the bus on time, and getting to school on time, and making sure that they were, dressing him appropriately to weather. So I was already dealing with all of that. And she kept on nagging and nagging and nagging, right? So I said nothing. I kept myself my cool. I was like, I understand you're going through this because of my dad too, and whatever. But one day she got to the point where she just made me very angry, and I felt disrespected. I felt unappreciated and stuff like that. So I told her, I said, look, I'm only here because of my dad too. I said, I'm just here to take care of him and for him. If you were the one in his place, I don't think I'd be here taking care of you.
Mm.
But that was already when I was already at the limit. I said, so as soon as this ends, because we knew that he was towards the end of his life, I said, as soon as this is over, I'm sorry, I said, you and I don't have to interact anymore. I said, I won't come back. I promise you that much. And sure enough, my dad too passed away, and then he got cremated, and we went to pick up the ashes within like a couple of weeks timeline, and then after that, that was it. I didn't go back, and 3 years passed, and I didn't call, and she didn't call, and I knew that I had to go back to therapy so that I could deal with what I was feeling, and I did just that. It helped me to forgive her for this past, transgression or whatever. But at the same time, it gave me um, the okay to not be okay with the way she was acting. But I forgave her too. You know what I mean? Like I let it go. I was like, I'm gonna forgive her, and I'm just gonna continue on with my healing. But I did make that conclusion that if my mind, my mental health was going to suffer, my anxiety was going to come back because I was in the presence of that person that I don't feel comfortable with, I was not going to take that risk anymore. And I don't.
And you shouldn't.
Mm-mm. I
That's
gave
that's
myself permission.
that's one of the things, Miss Nexie. I think sometimes we forget to. Oh, we forget that we're adults. I know that may sound, but sometimes dealing with your siblings or a romantic relationship or anybody can trigger you back to a memory of a time where you got disrespected and you just go crazy, you snap
Hmm.
on them. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I talk about wanted to talk about this, forgiveness, men versus women, because everybody has different experiences, but at the same time, we're all the same.
Hmm.
We're all human. We all want respect. We all want to be loved. And when trauma happens in our life, right, people could lie all they want to. Everybody experiences some sort of trauma in their upbringing, whether you had one parent, both parents, whether it's a beautiful relationship or whatever that you had. But still, there's going to be things that they did either over love you, under love you, abandon you. There's going to be some issues there. And I feel like that's what shapes and molds every person to be who they are. And growing up, I used to always think that my older sister was so harsh and rough. But then when I had a conversation with her, like a real talk conversation, like spilling all the tea about the things that she had to deal with, I was like, she has that tough personality because she's always had to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
we really don't think about those things when it comes to like, oh, why are they so mean? Because they've been fighting and protecting themselves their whole life. And I was like, because if you never had someone protecting you, you always keep yourself on that playing field like, okay, I'm ready. You want to go? Let's go toe to toe. Whereas because I was the youngest and I think by that time my parents had calmed down, allegedly.
Allegedly, it's not confirmed nor denied. Allegedly, okay?
I was saying to myself, I was like, this is calm. No, oh, ma'am. And I think probably because I was the youngest and I only grew up with four other of my siblings. All the rest of my siblings were already, gone. So it was just the
Hmm.
there. So I didn't really have the relationship like some people have with their siblings. My older siblings felt like they always felt like uncles and aunts to me.
Yeah, they felt older to you.
Yeah. It wasn't like that was my brother and sister. For me it was like, let me call let me call my auntie. I didn't feel like there wasn't that sort of relationship you have when you have your sibling
That
and
bonding, right?
you didn't have that. I didn't have that bond because it's a whole different bond when you're going through the struggle together and you guys look at each other in the eye like, are you seeing this? I didn't have that with my older.
Is our mom, both of our mom. Like she is, we are siblings, right? She is our mom.
Next to when I got to be 18, I did check my DNA.
Miss Marlene, you did not.
Did. I still because I was hoping. I was like, please, can somebody else be my mama?
You're a headful.
My
Oh
mom,
my God.
I did. Yes, ma'am. I said I think I was switched in the hospital because there ain't no way.
You are too much. No, no, and Miss Marlene, because of the different experiences, right, that we have had growing up, and like you said, there's we grew up with like two different sets of parents because we're the last kid, right? We don't understand our siblings and we criticize them because oh my god, I don't understand why you're so condescending to my mom. Like I can talk to her, no big deal. Or why are you so with my dad? I talk to him like nothing. But we don't stop and think of, well, they dealt with the younger version of my dad. They dealt with the younger version of my mom, which it was more aggressive, more this, more that. And now that when they had me, as I started, growing up, they were a little bit more wiser, more calmer, more whatever. We don't think like that. We are always quick to criticize our siblings or our cousins sometimes because we see certain things in our cousins, right, Miss Marlene? And why are you so mean to our uncle or our auntie? She's so sweet. And cousins are looking at you like, you don't know that woman.
The whole thing about it is this conversation is about, really speaking on differences. So, in getting back to talking about forgiveness and men versus women, I personally feel, based on my experiences and what I saw from, my father, my brothers, cousins, uncles, growing, I personally feel like when men um feel slighted and feel that apology needs to happen, I feel like they don't come and communicate that. They kind of just hang back and they stay upset and ever, I guess, get their fill out before they do something that they'll regret. Whereas I think as soon as a woman feels slighted, she's just going to pop right then and there. You did. That's just what I saw growing up, and probably could be just the Caribbean background, the just how volatile my upbringing was. But that's what used to be our experiences. The guys used to hang back and say nothing, and then it was always the women saying everything that they wanted to say.
You know what? For me, I feel that um, again, maybe because I didn't get to see my siblings and I growing together with both parents. So for me, it was even more confusing, Miss Marlene, when my siblings will act a certain way with my dad or will act a certain way with my mom. Because I didn't know, with no reference point. Like we've never been together in the same room. Like, why are you, why are you so afraid of my mom? Or why do you stay quiet when she's disrespecting you? Like, say something, right? Because that's what I used to do. Like, don't talk to me like that. Are you crazy? No, calm down. But my siblings wouldn't say that. My sisters, my brothers, yeah, they have no problems voicing their discontent or whatever it is that they have going on. But at the same time, we have to understand that male or female, everybody has their own particular way of forgiving. Some of us can let it go and forgive 100% wholeheartedly. Some of us cannot. And it will always be a partial forgiveness, meaning I forgive, forget, I will never trust you. Therefore, you're not really forgiven, kind of thing. But we have to respect.
Uh-oh. No, I'm here, but your voice, your is starting to sound like a robot under.
It keeps on my end, it keeps on breaking. I'm like, oh my goodness. I couldn't hear what she said. It's my internet, Miss Marlene. No, but what I was saying, your own time, in your own way. It's not a a standard. Everybody has to do it this way, and it's the only way forgiveness is accepted. No, you have to allow people to forgive at the right time when it's time for them, not when it's time for you. And do it in the best way that works for them. Let's not criticize and let's not resent people that cannot do it because we're all different.
Yep, and that's exactly right, Miss Nancy. I think when we learn to celebrate that we're the same but different, but we can at the same time respect one another's opinion, that nobody is right and
Hmm.
nobody is. It's this is feel and this I deal with it from my experiences, and this is how you deal with it based on your experiences. And if it's people that you have to deal with, sibling or um, you know, friends, relationship, whoever, you know, try being exercising some compassion, some patience, because we really don't know what another person is going through. And, when I say that, I say it because there was uh, about three of my life, like I've talked about before, where I had an eating disorder, and my own siblings didn't even know that. That can show you how the unit was so dysfunctional that nobody even noticed that I was skin and bones.
That is so terrible, Miss Marlene. But at the
So
same time, it doesn't surprise me because, and I'm gonna, oh my God, I'm gonna say something bad right now. I hope you can forgive me. Sometimes our own parents separate us as siblings because, again, why can't you be like your sister? And there you go, resenting your sister. Why can't you be as calm or as smart as your brother? There you go, as a sister, resenting your brother. Or when you show up to visit them, they're like, "Oh, you're here. Oh, your sister's not here yet." So they put us in like to not create a bond.
yep, and I agree with that, Miss Nexie. They separate us one from the other,
Hmm.
and I never thought about that until I started going to therapy. But I believe that that's what happened between the older siblings and the younger siblings. It was always like you don't know anything. It was always like someone always wagging their finger. You don't know anything, just like you. I'm smarter.
Hmm.
This person is smarter, and this person is stupid. Comparing the competition,
Hmm.
it's just not.
Exactly.
And then it gets to be where you don't even want to be around those individuals because you have so many things that you have not forgiven whoever they are for, and it builds so much until you finally just break away from that person, or there is a big, you know, blow up, you know,
Hmm.
and it
Exactly.
builds to that sometimes because there is no forgiveness.
Exactly, Miss Marlene. Exactly. And the saddest thing, I'm actually very, so- for many, many years, I will resent, as I got older and I had my children, I would resent the fact that, how could not my parents not stay with one another, right? So that we could have a mom and a dad and we could have a complete family. As I got older and I started getting to know um, my mother's character, the way she was, um, the way she dealt with things, how deceiving sometimes she was. She will lie for the smallest of things, and she still does. When I
Mm.
started seeing all that, I'm going to tell you, Miss Marlene, I gave God thanks. I was so grateful to God for allowing us to just grow up with one parent because it got us to become six very close knit siblings that I think that had my mom stayed and raised us with my dad, we wouldn't be this close. My dad did this for us. Sorry, my neighbor's dog.
Um,
Sorry about that. So, I started being very grateful because I started realizing that if my dad would have stayed with my mom and raised us together, we probably wouldn't be in speaking terms with my siblings or love each other like the way we do. and probably would have never forgiven either one of them. I think I would have never done
And that's so sad. That occurred. Um, one thing that I would say about women, and from my opinion, men having a mom, having a girlfriend, being around older women, and I don't know why, but it's something that I see that is in some women. I'm not going to say all, but when they're upset, they'll hold it in, harbor their resentment instead of having a conversation. They'll tell everybody other than the person who affected them.
that.
They, they did this. Can you believe it? Like, back them up. That's not right. And it's with the person who offended you, they never have it. Like, they'll be like, "Oh no, I'm done with it," and then come to find years later that they were talked about it.
Exactly.
But
It's
has been hearing this story for over 20 years about what they did, but we all thought they had, they talked about it, and then they still wouldn't. But then conversation, like,
wow.
this is so,
And it's,
and Miss Nexie, the issue right here, it was two siblings. It was my father and his sister had a gift. Uh, I want to say it was years ago, and
wow.
we did not talk from the day of that event. My father, and it in very Jamaican style, was like, "I'm done." It was just like,
Wow.
"Cool, that's fine." It was like one thing. It was like, "What?" And when we found this in Annie, the house, it missed that simple.
Wow.
I was
That
like,
is wild.
"What's that? I don't understand. Like, this doesn't make sense." And my aunt, and he would be like, "Don't bring up that in this house." It was that serious.
Really?
Me and my age, that was our
Wow. I have actually, I have not experienced it in my family that they don't, meaning that they don't speak for years. Um, the only thing closest to that that I can probably compare it to is that even though my parents sometimes, they had to communicate because of us, right? For weddings or whatever, they will try not to be in the same room together. So if my cousin was getting married and both of my parents got invited, my mom will go to the mass, but not the party. My dad will go to the party, but not the mass because my mom didn't want to go be in the same room as my father.
oh,
So it was her. That's the closest I have experienced to people not talking to each other for many, many years. So when we got married, I wanted them both. My sisters wanted them both, but we had to choose, or they had to choose on where to be. And my father always gave in. He said, "That's your mom, and I know you guys need her there, so I'll just come to the party." And that is the closest I can say to someone, not speaking or hating someone that much.
mm, mm.
Isn't that wild?
That's stuff that blows my mind, and I've always said that, you know. And what really hurts me, it wasn't until my father and my aunt was 102 years old. My dad was 79 when they finally met each other.
That is beautiful. You finally make them talk to each other.
Made them. I made him. I
Good.
was like,
I
I was like, I was like, listen, dude, you're dying.
know.
Like, listen. I was like, I was like, just call her. And he refused. He was not. He was like, I'm not gonna call her because then I'll say something. And I.
They still the 20-year-old that got upset with each other.
It was still like he turned into a little boy. No, I don't want to. I don't want to call her, but I'll write her a letter. So,
Mm-mm.
and, yep, he wrote her a
Oh
letter, and
my.
that was everybody. Like even all of us as siblings, we all came together for that moment. We're like, do you? We were all in the group chat, like all in agreement, like say what? Everybody was like, what? I know what.
You guys are funny. Yeah, but Miss Marlene, and that's the thing about, forgiveness or a partial forgiveness. It has to be your
On
own at your right time, at the right setting. It has to be, you have to do it. Nobody can do that for you. Even though you told your dad you have to call her, if he didn't want to or he wasn't willing, he would have not done it. But,
yeah.
he was ready at that time. He was willing at that time.
In the back of my mind, I feel like it's one of those things that I think sometimes, and now don't the men in my chat, y'all don't come for me with what I'm about to say, but I think some men feel it's gonna make them not male enough, like they're gonna lose some testosterone by saying you hurt my feelings.
I think it's I think it's deeper than that. I think,
Well, I feel sometimes, Miss Nexie, when have to apologize for something, I was like, wow, I can feel the estrogen come out of my body. That,
no, I feel that it's totally different because men think so different than we do, right?
yeah.
I am going to say something here. Um,
Oh,
no, 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 not in a bad way, but this is I was raised by a single father, and I've stated that so many times. People are probably tired, so I apologize. But this is the reason why I'm about to say what I'm going to say. When I got separated from my husband, well, my ex-husband, people, my mom, a couple of my aunties, and sometimes co-workers will kind of hint at me that I shouldn't stay alone. You should find someone. Don't stay alone. Remarry. Go out. And I always, in the back of my mind, I will say, you know what? Maybe, but then my frontal lobe will kick in, and I don't know if that's the one that thinks, right? But no. But then I will think of my sons. I will stop and say, you know what? How will my sons feel if they come home and they find their mother with another man in the house? How will my sons, will I lose their respect? Will I lose that pride that I see in their eyes every time they introduce their mother to their friends? And will I lose that connection with my sons? I knew that my daughters will understand and say, yeah, mom, it's okay, do it, whatever. But I was always fearful of my sons, and maybe it's the wrong approach, Miss Marlene. Don't please
Yeah.
don't come for me. Maybe it's the wrong approach, but the last thing I wanted it because, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. But the last thing I wanted it was to lose the love and the respect that I see in my son's eyes every time they see me and every time they introduce me and every time they come to whatever with me. The pride that they have because their mother has been on her own for 16, 17 years, raising them on their own, is
Hmm.
something that I don't want to lose. And the reason why is because I have seen moms that they get divorced and they are dating and whatever. And I have heard their sons, when they get upset, throw all of that in their face. I have seen the loss of relationship between a son and a mother when the mom has somebody else in their life. So I
Yeah.
might have been wrong by not remarrying, by not dating, but in my mind and in my heart, I made the right decision because the people that matter to me the most are my daughters and my sons. And on all four of them, pride, joy, and respect is all I see in their treatment of me and the way they look at me and the way they express about me to others.
Oh, love that. You love your kids. And that's something that Miss Nexty, I don't know how that feels, but I can say that I respect you for that because there's a lot of people, men and women, after relationships don't work, that they're like their kids backseat. Like I don't, my
Mhm.
kids have to whatever deal with it because it's my life. But at the end of the day, be your kid, do your
And, and Miss Marlene, you don't know how that feels because you don't have the right to date until Mr. Somebody's 18. So you don't
oh,
know how that feels.
mine.
So
And
you
they
know
were
how that feels.
next thing not 18 anymore.
Oh,
No,
how old is he supposed to be?
21. Yeah.
Oops, excuse me. 21.
And I
Oh
was
my
like,
lord. You're never gonna date again.
never. Then Miss Nexie, and then I'm sure at 21 it's going to be after I get married. You know.
After my kids are grown, then you
Yeah.
can go back and date mom in the nursing home. In the nursing home, you can find yourself a boyfriend.
And even then, they're going to be like, hold on, wait a minute. Who are you?
I know. Why are you trying to hit get together with my 98-year-old mother? What's wrong with you? What kind of work do you do? How are you going to support her? Huh? No, but Miss Marlene is something that, again, because of the experiences and what I see, on my brothers and what I've seen on my extended family and other people, that once that bond is broken with your children and you can never repair it the same way again. So you have to be very careful on what bridges you burn as a parent. I can tell
Yeah.
my daughters, why are you behaving so sleuthy, right? Why are you dating around or why are you doing things like that? I can literally go to their faces and say, why are you doing that? That's not what I taught you, or that's not the example you're showing me. And there's no reason, there's no way they can rebut that. You know, I can talk to my sons in some kind of way and say, hey, why are you messing around with so many girls? why are you doing this type of thing? Or why are you behaving? Or why are you answering me like that? That's not the example I gave you either. I've been devoted to you guys and whatever. So let's talk this out. Let's try to repair whatever. I can do that to my children because they have nothing that they can throw in my face.
Yep. Yeah. Because you stand on your values and your principles, and
My head
that's
held high.
hmm
But
that's
my
hmm
best friend, Miss Marlene, her daughter
hmm
to this day hasn't forgiven her. Well, she's my ex best friend. She was married for like 12 years to her baby's father. They
hmm
got separated 2 weeks after they got separated with her ex. She had another man in the house. And at this
wait,
point, her daughter,
hold on, pause, pause.
it's like one of
Pause.
those trucks. Like one of those trucks, beep, weep, when it's backing up, beep, beep.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. What do you mean? Say that again. How many days?
Well, 2 weeks
14
after
days.
14 days uh, after a 12-year relationship fizzled. 12 days. And at this point, she has a 12 or 13-year-old daughter. So you do the math. The child is in that age where you're taking a good view of life. So the way she behaves with this person is, I can see that she hasn't forgiven all of those mistakes. I'm not
Mm,
saying that she resents her or anything, but you can tell that it's not it's not like they haven't worked on it per se.
mm.
But
This
yeah,
next week,
14 days. 14 days, Miss Marlene. Exactly 14 days.
I
Living
can't.
in living in the apartment where she lived with her husband.
mm, Miss Nexty, there's a lot of things that I could say, but I will not say it because we
Don't,
are live.
don't. We are live. We are live. That's why I'm biting my tongue too, because I wanted to say something, but I'm like, no, no, no. And
I don't want
you
to
know,
get this stra- um
you don't want to get a timeout from YouTube. Yeah, I understand.
so one thing I just to really bring about that no matter what you are a man or you're a woman, right? The most important thing is if offended, somebody offends someone, have the conversations. Have the conversations with whoever offended you, whoever hurt you, and yeah, have the conversations. And if you can't have the conversation, send a text, an email, but you need to communicate when someone does something to you. And I don't mean about every little thing that people do because I think sometimes people do the most and say that they're offended by every little thing. But anyhow, I'm talking about heavy things, sharing your personal business, someone backstabbing you. You need to have conversations behind those things because if you don't, you're going to bring that anger to the next
Mhm.
or the next people that you're around.
And it's true. And the more we clear our path when it comes to making amends with all relationships, good ones, of course, nothing abusive, but good relationships, the more we talk about our fears, our likes, our dislikes, our new beginnings, ending all things. The more we talk about all of this, sometimes I feel that it brings us closer to analyzing certain relationships and brings us closer to amending them if possible. I'm not
Right.
saying that they all are, or that you're going to be capable of mending every relationship or putting back together every bridge that you have burned. That's not what I'm saying. But there's some relationships that are worth saving. But you have to
Mhm.
do it at your own time, at your own pace. But overall, make sure that your mental health is not in danger if you do it.
Yes. And I'm glad that you said that, Miss Nexty, because I have to state this, that while you're forgiving people of things, at the same time, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to deal with people anymore.
Yeah,
Forgiveness
exactly.
Forgiveness means I'm no longer going to hold a grudge. I'm no longer going to think about bringing you some physical harm or some revenge, or trying to do something to you. I'm just going to put the cards on the table, say what it is, and then it's I go my way and you go yours, and then that's it. Of course, others, if it's a relationship you want to salvage, then you'll want to say, okay, let's start this over again, but in a healthy space, because I believe a lot of times when you're in need of forgiving, to forgive somebody, it's that boundaries were crossed. And when you go back and you start over again, you start with boundaries. This is what we're going to do. This is what we won't, and whatever, and that's how you have to have the relationship. I think a lot of times when it comes to our relatives or friends, your spouse, significant other, whoever in our lives, we don't have boundaries. We just feel like they must know that this hurts me, they must know what I like, they must know what I don't like. And for me, I had to learn that as a woman, to stop um expecting for people to know when they offend me if I've never told them.
Exactly. And to add to what you just said, because it was beautifully done, by the way, forgiveness is given to get rid of your the baggage that you be carrying and to hopefully have a new start with that person. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. When you
Mm,
start anew with the person you just forgave, you have to remember on both sides how you guys got to the point of breakup, and do not make the same mistakes twice. If boundaries are needed, place them every 12 feet or every foot if you need it closer, right? Or every 6 feet, whatever it is that you need. Place them so that you can repair what has been broken, but not forgetting, so that mistakes are not made again, is the most important part of fixing something besides forgiveness.
yeah,
Those are my
because
steps.
yes, Miss Nexie, the things that whether it's in friendships, romantic relationships, any shit. If you want to have a healthy relationship with anyone, you must start off the beginning by saying, "Hey, I don't know if you know, but this, and this really irks me. It really grinds my gears. So I would appreciate it if this line is not crossed." And when you start a relationship like that, let know in the beginning, this is the deal breaker.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing, Miss Marlene. Like, There were things, for our marriage to end. I'm going to put our example, me and my ex husband. For our marriage to come to an end, it took the two of us to make it end. It wasn't just the one person, as I wished it would have been. So now we are fixing not the marriage or relationship of a couple, we're fixing our friendship, which began, I'm sorry, way before we became husband and wife. We were good friends. He wasn't my best friend, but we were good friends. So we're fixing that part of our relationship, not in a romantic way, but in a friendship type of way because we have children in common and we're having grandchildren born. We need to have a friendship. But I have been practicing what I'm saying, what I just said before. I forgave him. I don't forget what happened. Um, and I have boundaries now. Whatever I don't like, I voice it right away. If he crosses any of those boundaries, I bring it up and say, "You're crossing it, and I don't like it." And I have given him the permission to do the same. And we're getting along beautifully with more respect, with more conversation, with more understanding than before. But we both know that it's never going to be romantic again because that died. But the
Mhm.
friendship continues.
Oh, that's beautiful, Miss Nexie. I think you could teach a lesson to um, a lot of people because I find a lot of people like when it's a husband or boyfriend, girlfriend, others,
Yeah.
the dragging the father. I'm not saying that you have to decisions that they make like the way you you're always gonna have
Yeah. And well, I'm going to say this because, he follows you and he's a friend of ours.
then the you're in the tunnel.
Am I breaking up? You know what I think it is? I think I'm being
Storm.
transported. I
Oh
think I'm going back to the future. I'm so sorry. Can
yeah,
you hear me,
I
Miss
hear you now.
Marlene? I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, you hear me now? Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, I was telling you, I was in like the grades today. He had a great podcast, and he was talking about what happens after the breakup, right? Of baby daddy, baby mommy type of thing, and all the sometimes horrible things that we do um, to each other because of the kids. The one thing that I always had in mind because I saw the way my parents parted and the way my mom never was able to be in the same room as my dad. Communicated with him at the minimum, the least amount as possible, because she resented him so much. And I don't think she ever forgave him. But the thing here is, my ex husband and I, we knew that we were going to get divorced, but we wanted to do it between us. We didn't want to leave or to have the courts decide how much child support, how much this, how much that. We wanted to do it amicably, um, as respectful as possible, and as fair as possible. And that's exactly what we did. It took us almost 5 years to get to the point where I'm satisfied and he's satisfied, but we didn't allow anybody else to tell us how to handle our separation and how to handle parenting our kids. And that is the whole point that I wanted to say. You don't have to fight. You don't have to put the guy through the ringer because you're upset. Because you got to think about your children first. You have to think about them. You go on with your life, and so is their father. They're the ones who get stuck in the mess that we make.
Yes,
So that is the only thing that I really like that because he was talking about that. And
that's the top.
now, Miss Marlene, I have more respect for my ex because after the breakup, I lost all respect for him. But I have more respect for him now that I did in the past 5 years because of the way that he has allowed me to come to terms with everything. He has allowed me to handle things my way and has allowed me to get my anger out so that we can be where we're at. And now we can vacation together. We can enjoy 2 or 3 days and we're cool. And I like
Yeah,
that.
and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that that there is a rainbow after the storm because
There's
some
forgiveness for you.
yeah after the storm. But I want to touch on a little bit about this right here, Miss Nexie, and talking about forgiveness, like relationships that it's for it's important for your kids or other people in your household that common have with each other and that is healthy thing with me. This comes often through learn to forgive each other. And we talk about things like what caused you to feel that way, were you having a bad day, and things like that. Was I insensitive? Having those conversations will help to for it to be a safe environment for conversations to happen. And I think that's one of the reasons why forgiveness can't happen sometimes is because you have somebody offended you and they have this attitude like I don't care, so it's like, oh, you don't care, but you want me to forgive you? Like that will never happen. But I think the environment of you can say how you feel, and I may not agree with it, but I'm going to respect you and I'm going to try my best not to offend you. When you have that in a family or a friendship or whatever relationship, you can get through anything because you may not understand it, but some things is not meant for us to understand. And it took me a long time to come to that conclusion as a woman and not just think about my feelings are the only feelings that I also have to take into play, other people that I have people in my family who are older. I may not understand that part because I'm not in the space of being older yet, but I'm also trying to give that to the ones that are younger too, to remind myself how I felt when I was their age and nobody wouldn't listen to me. So on both sides of the token, I'm trying as a woman to respect those who are older and then at the same time to not be the bully like I used to think the older ones was when I was younger. Like don't be a bully. That's a child. They have feelings too. Don't be a you know controlling and manipulative, and it's not only your way, their way counts as well. So I wanted to say that part too. You should have a safe environment that you can have conversation and you will respect one another, and it's not that you're put down. And I think that's important to have in any relationship. It can't just be like, okay, yeah, whatever you say. It,
Hmm. That gets old. Let's
Mhm.
do everything you say and never mind my feelings, right? But oh, you don't like that? Okay, I don't like it either. I always tell people, don't do that. That's gonna get old. You you have to be able to have those conversations where if I don't like a theme park, I'm gonna tell you I really don't like it. But I'm not just gonna go along with you. And then we get together and then I tell you I don't like going there, but you know, I guess we can I was doing it because we were dating. I think that it's more painful when you lie to people than when you tell them the truth. So
Mhm.
I remember one thing, Miss Marlene, as we're talking about forgiveness. One day when I was younger, my sister had this really nice little planter that a friend, her best friend from school, had given to her. I was playing in her room, and I don't remember if I was jumping on the bed or flip. I don't remember what I was doing or throwing the pillow out. I don't remember. I broke it. My sister was devastated. She was so hurt, and she didn't want to talk to me anymore. And don't talk to me. I don't love you. I don't like you. I hate that you're my sister. And so all kinds of things. And I was so hurt. I got money together and I went and bought her another little vase, little planter. I gave it to her with a little, I think it was a little cacti, or I don't remember what it was, but it was, I was very young. And my sister took it. She said thank you. And I was like, okay, I already apologized because I had already done that. I bought you another planter and you still not, you know what I mean, forgiving me. So I go to my dad and I tell him, you know, she's so ungrateful. She's so mean and so rude. I already apologized to her. I already bought her another planter and she's still not doing that, forgiving me. And then my father said, okay, so the forgiveness is for you to be okay, or should it be until your sister feels okay? Miss Marlene, I was like, of course, until I'm okay.
Oh
I didn't
no,
understand because I was like 9 years old. I didn't understand what it meant.
you
And
failed
I,
that one.
father, and then I said, until I feel okay, of course. And my father said, no, you were in the wrong here. You have to give her time to heal what you did to her. When she's ready to forgive you and accept your forgiveness, she'll forgive you wholeheartedly because you guys are sisters. But don't do it on your time. Let her deal with whatever it is that she's dealing with. You owe her that much. And I was like, what is he talking about? You're just as selfish as my sister. So as the years have gone by, I understood what he was trying to tell me that day. And it was very, very wise from him because it's something that I have used in my life when I do wrong to others and something I have taught to my children. You know what I mean? So I think it's those little nuggets that sometimes because we're so upset, heartbroken, or whatever, that we forget those little wisdom or nuggets of wisdom, as we can call them, that we forget because we're upset or because we don't want to lose or we don't want to be the first to ask for forgiveness or the first one to forgive.
And I think that's what it is too. I don't know what it is, Miss Nexie. The first, I feel like the first person is the person like they gotta tell
It's
me
the weak
first.
one. It's the weak one. The
Yeah,
first one for forgiveness is the weak one.
I was like, well, since you're sorry, I get.
Isn't that
I'm
our Jamaican upbringing, though?
yes,
Come on, say it. Just say
yeah. Oh, I get. Since you're sorry, I get.
it. Oh, I got you in the palm of my hands now because you were the first one who broke. So now I got you.
Yeah,
That's
I got you.
our Caribbean upbringing.
Yes, that's just what it was. It was like, and you're like, yep. Still got it.
Yeah, the weak one asks for forgiveness first, not you. So you hold
Yeah,
on until you're gonna explode,
true.
and then you ask for
That's very toxic.
it. It is. It is very
Very,
toxic.
yep. So
But
now, so now, Miss Nexie, I had to learn that when I went through therapy. It's not about waiting until the other person says something. It's when you realize you have wronged somebody. You're like, I know you're mad at me right now, but I want to tell you that I apologize. And then you leave it there. And when they're ready, they'll come back. Okay. Especially with me. Okay, you're still a bit, but I love you.
yes, it takes a long time to get there, right, Miss Marlene? In therapy, it gets a long time for you to admit that you can be the big guy and just say, you know what, I wronged you. I mean, you yelled at me, right? But I still wronged you.
Yeah.
To get there, it takes a very long time for you to grow um, in your
Mm-hmm.
therapy to be able to accept that you're not
To
perfect
be the first person to
and to be
say,
true to yourself. Uh-huh.
mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what that feels because I'm perfect, but I'm pretty sure it was hard for you.
Nixie is perfect, but those of us who aren't, like myself, and Nixie,
That's hard.
I was that child, Miss Nexie, that I knew the ones that I could do things to and who would forgive me first. So I would do things to them because I knew they would forgive me, but I would never mess with some of my other siblings because I know that what it would mean.
Miss Riley, you are bad.
Is has unmuted. I mean, your camera has turned your camera off again. Camera's on now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Make sure you turn it off. Unless you
Oh,
want to
I'm gonna have to go like this because I don't know what I did.
reveal your face on the sipping.
Oh no, 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 not today, not today. I'm
I was like,
gonna have to go like this now because I don't know what I did, Miss Marlene. What did I do?
oh no, but you know that second button that has the line. You got to turn it back off.
I am trying and it doesn't do it, so I'm not. I'm just gonna go like this all the way. Oh, my neighbor's dogs. I came outside for a little bit and they are going crazy. Sorry about that, Miss Marlene.
Okay,
You're
Miss
gonna
Next,
have to deal with me like this.
that's fine with it. I just don't want it to be like you be like scream when you see yourself live to all of YouTube.
I don't know how to do it. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying, but I can't. Never mind that. I'll make sure that it doesn't. Oh, I gotta tell you, my friend was during COVID, everybody was doing their Zoom meetings for work or whatever.
Mhm.
So she was having a meeting, and she had to do. I think she wanted to get a cup of coffee. I don't remember what she wanted to do. She told me, but I forgot.
Miss
So
Nexie, I can see a green screen now.
I don't know.
Nervous.
I don't know. There you go. Yay!
Oh man, you
Okay.
know how I was sweating over here. Whew.
Oh no, no, I had my finger on the camera. Don't worry. It will never happen. I mean, not yet, not yet. Until we'll let you guys know when. But Miss Marlene, my friend, during COVID, was having a board meeting. She works for the school district. Oh, she's gonna hate me. Well, I'm not saying her name, so that's okay. So they're having a Zoom meeting, and she is on her phone, right? So somebody else was talking, and she got herself into the avatar mode on her phone. And she's like, as they're talking, I'm going to be listening because she had her headphones. I'm going to go make myself a cup of coffee. So she grabbed her phone and put it in between her, in her chest area. You know,
Uh,
she had a low cut blouse, right? So she's like, I don't have any pockets. So she grabbed it and put it on her chest. And apparently, that camera and the touch of the skin, it turned on. So,
uh,
so the she hears this commotion like, oh my god, who's that? Tell that person to turn their camera off. And she says, "Yes, I'm making my coffee." I'm like, oh my god, who will be dumb enough to do that? Until they say, Mrs. So and so, I think your camera's on. She says, next to my face, the whole color, my whole color came off. I looked like a piece of paper, like a literally white note writing on piece of paper. I look down at my phone and I see the camera going. She said, I had no face. I couldn't face them. I told them, I said, I have to leave this meeting right now. And everybody was like, oh, okay, okay. You know what? We can make contact next week. And she goes, I hanged up and I couldn't see them and I couldn't talk to them anymore. And when they went back to school, because she's been in that school district for a very long time, they all avoided eye contact with her
mm,
because they felt so embarrassed. And I did it every time I think of that story. That's why I'm always very cautious with my camera because I'm like, it's not
mm,
gonna be me.
no, man. That's how serious I am. Even when I do these, when I turn my camera off, I still take a piece of tape and put it over the camera lens. I'm like, no, mm-mm.
Yeah, I do that with my laptop and my iPad, but I have my phone, so I'm like, I forgot to put a piece of tape on it. But you were not gonna see anything because I had it under control.
See, my heart was racing. I was like, okay, okay, what's that? So,
What's
what, what?
what kind of picture am I gonna get? The XXX triple X or whatever? What kind of picture is Miss Lexi sending us?
See, I didn't know if you were appropriate. I was like,
Well, sorry, I got you worried for a minute. But no, Miss Marlene, the whole point here is when you are forgiving, you have to make sure that you are ready for whatever comes out of that forgiveness. If you're the one asking for it,
mhm,
you have to make sure you're going to be okay with the outcome.
yeah. For me, it's not just saying like how people love to say they're sorry because they want to like you to stop talking about it or whatever. Because that's a whole thing that people do, or to run from, okay, okay, I'm sorry, so that you can stop talking about it or you can stop embarrassing them or whatever. They'll say they're sorry, but I mean, true forgiveness, like not saying it until you actually mean it, because that's one thing that will really irritate me. And I've had to have conversations with my siblings about it too. Don't just say you're sorry because you know you did wrong, but then keep repeating the same behavior.
Hmm. When you say it, mean it. Your actions is gonna speak. They're gonna speak louder to me than just your words. That's what I tell people too. Normally, I don't. Like I said before, I don't give non-family second chances. I don't. Um, through the years, I have learned. I have been burned many a times. So I have learned that not everybody deserves a second chance. Um, and sometimes with family, it's not that you want to per se 100%, but because they're family, you have to find it in your heart. Maybe to forgive them, maybe not socialize with them as you used to before, but at least to forgive them so that you can be in the family together.
Yep. That you're doing what you have to do.
Hmm. For
The
my
thing
mental
about
health.
for your mental health, you have to make the best choice. And that's one of the things. Oh, dog, go ahead. Oh, what else? I was letting the dog have his sound.
What
Okay,
what was that, Miss Marlene? I'm sorry.
letting the dog because the dog had a lot to say. So
That is my neighbor's dog.
I
I'm
was letting
outside because it's nice and fresh. It's not
maybe
even my dog.
somebody speak dog. So I was
No,
letting
I'm like, it's my
say.
next door neighbor's dog, and I'm trying to walk away so that you guys don't hear it. And I'm just trying to sit, in the front, water the plants, water my avocado tree. But that little dog is so tiny but so loud. So I had to
Mhm,
walk like a block away so you guys don't hear him. But yeah, Miss Marlene, and I don't mean family just blood family. I mean people that I consider
yep,
family. Those are the only
yep,
people that I give second chances to.
yep,
But the rest, mm-mm, I don't waste
yep.
my time.
I don't, and I think that's the difference right there. Most of the time, people don't forgive people because they never really held a place in their heart.
Hmm. Exactly. You're
I think,
correct.
I think that that's when you really know if you really care about somebody when they make you really, really mad, and then you're like, "Do I ever want to deal with them again?"
Hmm. Those are the crossroads, Miss Marlene. Right? When you
Yeah.
come to those crossroads, it's when you realize what important part of your heart these people are in, what
Mm-hmm.
place they have. If you're willing to say, you know what, I don't want to lose them because they have been with me through the worst days of my life. They have been
Mm-hmm.
with me through the best days of my life, and they have never left my side, no matter what, till the end. If
Yep.
you feel like that for someone, they're family. We don't mean by blood, we mean by love.
Yep.
Those are the only ones that I can, extend that olive branch and
Yep.
mend those bridges and ask for forgiveness and extend mine if they have ever wronged me. Of course, it depends too, right? Because it takes two.
It does, Miss Nexie. It depends because the whole thing about forgiveness thing is that it's not just somebody saying things and then they just keep doing the same things like you tell them what upsets you, that you don't like their behavior and they still continue to do it. So that's when the apology falls on deaf ears. And
Hmm.
I
And
was
it's
like,
an empty apology, Miss Marlene. It's an empty apology because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't bring anything to you because they continue to do the same thing of why you guys drifted apart or why you guys fought. They continue to go that same route. So yeah, I understand.
that's one of the things that I had to learn too. You have to have a balance. You just for everybody, especially those toxic individuals, and let them use you and play mind games with you. That's one thing that I learned in therapy. I learned a balanced view of forgiveness. I learned that there's some people, no. you don't need to forgive them, okay? Because
Hmm.
what they did was wrong. And they're a person that as soon as you forgive them, they're going to turn right back around and do something else because they don't care about your feelings. There's a certain period of time where you have to have some self preservation and
Exactly.
protecting yourself, protecting your mental health, protecting your finances. Just like, no, that's not a person when they say they're sorry. It's like, no, no.
They're not. They know. Actually, when this happens, that you extend, because, and this has happened to me before too. When you have someone that you love as family, and you mend fences again, and it's okay for a few months, and then they go back and do something even worse than the first time they betrayed you, or the first time they hurt you, and then you look and say, okay, you start analyzing. So you don't love me the way I do. You don't respect me the way that I do. And you don't cherish our friendship the way that I do. And you have to let go at that point, because
Yep,
it will never be the same. And they don't love you the way that you love them. And they never will.
yep. And that's another thing too, that we can't expect for people to love us back. No matter how much you love somebody, if they don't love you back, if they don't respect your boundaries, if they don't care about your feelings, you got to let them go.
You sure do. There's
Mhm.
nothing that will make them change who they are at their core. And you're not going to be able to change for them. So I say, yeah, bye bye.
Yep. That's and that's it. And that's a perfect place for us to end today's sip and chat. Any final thoughts, Miss Nexie? Men versus women and forgiveness?
Men or women, forgiveness is an individual's choice, and therefore it's going to have to be it, your own way, your own time, your own pace. Don't allow anyone to tell you when you need to forgive someone. It always has to come from within first.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all I have to say, Miss Marlene, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Miss Nexie. My final words is, you know how you feel. Pay attention to the actions of people. Is this out of character for the person? Were they having a bad day? Not trying to excuse it, but are they a person who normally will do things to you, or they were going through something and they did something? You have to think about all the factors involved in why a person treated you the way they treated you. And then you have to make a decision if them saying they're sorry will have any impact, because sometimes an apology just will not suffice, it will not cover it. And you go your way and I go mine. So that's my spiel. So no matter what, if you're a man or a woman, over here on Love Marlene 411, we focus on healthy relationships. It's nothing about men do this, women do that. It's human beings. We're human
From the
beings.
same planet, not from
Yeah,
Mars, not from Venus, from the same planet.
we all have feelings. We all deserve to be respected, and that's it. Thank you so much, Miss Nexie. Thank you to
Thank you for
everybody.
having me, Miss Marlene, and thank you everyone for coming, supporting Miss Marlene. Sorry I cut you off, Miss Marlene. Don't forget to hit the like, and if you haven't already, subscribe and follow us.
Yes, yes, yes. Night, night, everybody. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for all the comments in the chat. And anybody who is going through something with somebody and feel like you need to forgive them, remember that forgiveness is for you and not for them. See you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.